Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on homestays. You know, that quite unique way people get properly immersed in local life, especially students or travelers on cultural exchanges.
Exactly. We've looked through the materials you send over, and yeah, the aim is to sort of unpack what makes these homestays work or sometimes not work and go a bit deeper than just the basics.
Right, so a homestay, at its heart, it means living with a host family, becoming a guest in their home.
But it's more than just accommodation, isn't it? The real core seems to be that cultural exchange, the immersion. It's not just finding a bed for the night.
Definitely not. It's worlds away from a hotel or, even a student dorm. There's this potential to connect on a much more personal level, almost like being a temporary family member.
Yeah, and that comes across clearly, and the specifics vary quite a bit, don't they? You might get your own room, share meals, be really involved.
Or sometimes it's a bit more independent.
Right, maybe more like just renting a room, but still within that family environment, so you still get those chances for interaction, for soaking up the culture.
Okay, so thinking about what really makes it a homestay experience,
hmm
what are those like defining elements that consistently pop up?
Well, number one, absolutely, is living with a host family in their actual home. That automatically throws you into the cultural deep end, so to speak.
Right, immersion isn't optional, it's just there.
Exactly. It's about the everyday stuff, the routines, not just the highlights you'd see as a tourist.
And that must be incredible for language practice. Not formal lessons, but actually using the language.
Oh, absolutely. You're surrounded by it. You hear it constantly. In context, you have to use it for simple things, asking questions, joining in. It just accelerates things.
Yeah, I remember reading in one source about learning more Japanese from a host mom in 2 weeks than in months of classes. That's pretty powerful.
It really is. And it's not just vocab, it's pronunciation, rhythm, even understanding the cultural subtext in how people speak.
Plus, participating in some family activities and, crucially, following house rules.
Right.
That's a big one too, right? Because you are in their space.
Definitely. And those rules can tell you a lot about the culture and the family's way of life.
So talking about those house rules,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like there's a huge spectrum of what you might encounter.
Oh, absolutely. It really varies. Some families might be quite formal, others much more relaxed. Your sources give some great examples.
Like the strict dinner times in Spain, that seemed important.
Yeah, often the evening meal is a really central family time. Being late might be seen as quite disrespectful. More than just missing food, it's about the shared time.
Okay, so it's culturally significant. And then things like taking shoes off in Japan,
Yeah,
or even a slight bow.
precisely. Those signal respect for the home, for cleanliness, personal space. It's deeply ingrained.
And this highlights something else that came up, the need for really clear communication early on.
Critically important. Talking openly, maybe even before you arrive, but definitely when you get there, about expectations. Kitchen use, quiet times, visitors. Getting that straight prevents so many potential issues.
Yeah, it avoids stepping on toes. You're basically integrating into their flow.
You are.
Now, back to the language learning for a sec.
Yeah.
That idea of it being an accelerator,
hmm
it's compelling. It's like implicit learning, really,
Yeah,
just absorbing it.
it is. Because you have to use it. It's practical. You're not just doing grammar exercises. You're asking for directions, chatting about your day, trying to understand a joke, maybe.
Real world application.
Exactly. It makes the learning stick in a way that just studying often doesn't. That anecdote about learning Japanese really drives it home. It's the constant, necessary interaction.
You're forced to engage, basically.
Yeah, it stops being academic and becomes a tool for living. You're actively decoding and using it in real time.
So, okay, let's broaden out. What are the big upsides? The main pros of choosing a homestay.
Well, the deep cultural immersion is probably top of the list for most people. You're not just looking at the culture, you're in it.
Experiencing it firsthand.
Right. And the language learning, as we said, huge benefit. Then there's the local insight, getting tips from your hosts about hidden gems, understanding nuances you'd miss otherwise.
Like having insider knowledge and the possibility of home-cooked meals. That sounds pretty great.
Definitely. A fantastic way to taste authentic local food, which is another cultural window in itself. Plus, budget-wise, it can often be more affordable than a hotel or renting your own place.
Which is a big factor for students, yeah.
And don't forget the social side. Being part of a household can really combat loneliness, especially when you first arrive somewhere new. It's like an instant, albeit temporary, support system.
Having people around.
Yeah, feeling welcomed, maybe even adopted, like some of the stories mentioned. Getting invited to local events. That sense of connection can be really valuable.
But it's not always perfect. There have to be downsides, potential challenges people should be aware of.
Oh, for sure. Like any shared living situation, really less privacy is a big one. You're in someone else's house, their routine.
Right, you can't just do whatever you want whenever you want.
Exactly. And potential clashes in lifestyle or habits. What you're used to might be very different from their norm.
Food came up, too,
Hmm.
if you have dietary restrictions or are just a picky eater.
That can definitely be tricky. Unfamiliar food, allergies, it needs careful handling.
And things like curfews or rules about guests, that might feel restrictive if you're used to more freedom.
Mm-hmm. And despite best intentions, cultural misunderstandings can happen. Different communication styles, different assumptions about what's polite or normal.
Like that story about offending the host dad in Japan by not finishing rice. It seems like such a small thing, but culturally loaded.
It shows how easily missteps can occur if you're unaware. And look, sometimes you just might not click with the family on a personal level.
Yeah, the chemistry might not be there.
Exactly. Most experiences seem positive, but it's not a guarantee you'll become best friends. It's good to be realistic about that.
Okay, so if someone weighs the pros and cons and decides, yeah, I want to do this, how do they actually find one? What's the practical process?
Well, there are quite a few resources now. Websites like homestay.com, StudyStay. They specialize in connecting people.
Right, dedicated platforms.
Yeah. And often, big educational organizations like EF or AFS or even universities running study abroad programs, they facilitate homestays too, often vetting the families.
So when you're looking through profiles on these sites, what should you focus on?
Read the family descriptions really carefully, their lifestyle, interests, what the room is like. Reviews from past students are gold dust if they're available.
Get a feel for their experiences.
Exactly. And look at the photos. Does it look like a place you could feel comfortable? Does the family seem like a potential match for your personality?
And before you actually commit, what are the most asked questions?
Definitely clarify what's included in the price. Meals. Which ones? Internet. Laundry. Get that clear.
Avoid surprises later.
Right. Ask if they'll be hosting other students at the same time. That changes the dynamic. And critically, if you have dietary needs or allergies, ask up front if they can accommodate them. Don't assume.
Makes total sense. Setting expectations clearly. So finally, any top tips for someone actually doing a homestay to make it a success?
Well, bringing a small gift from home is a really nice touch. A gesture of appreciation. It doesn't have to be big, maybe a photo book of your town or some local
A
sweets.
good icebreaker.
Yeah. And then throughout the stay, communication. Open, honest, respectful. Ask if you're unsure about anything. Be polite about your needs.
And presumably be prepared to adapt. Be flexible.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. You have to be willing to embrace new ways of doing things, new routines, except that it will be different.
Roll with it a bit.
Exactly. Because ultimately, as we've sort of explored, homestays are intense, they're revealing, sometimes challenging, yes, but they offer this incredibly rich, valuable way to genuinely connect with another culture.
Yeah, so wrapping this up, it really seems like a homestay is so much more than just finding accommodation. It's about that lived daily experience, the back and forth, the exchange happening right there in someone's home.
Totally. And the key mindset really is being open-minded and flexible. If you bring those two things, you stand the best chance of having a truly positive, maybe even life-changing experience.
Definitely food for thought. So here's something for you, the listener, to ponder. If you were thinking about a homestay, what part of diving into another culture would excite you the most? Or maybe make you a little nervous? And turning it around, what little piece of your own culture would you be keenest to share with a host family? Something to think about, for sure.